Hello guys, Schaefer here. My voice is a little low because my throat hurts. So we'll try and bypass it. Honestly, I don't know if I'll be able to. Um, in the playoffs, there's like nobody left at all. Like nobody. There's like three teams each side battling for one spot. So two teams are going to get eliminated next week, and if any of those teams lose, then yes, they're going to be eliminated from playoff contention. Obviously. How stands in the NFC? I mean AFC. We'll start with the AFC. Boy, my throat. So the Giants clinched a playoff spot versus Indianapolis with a 32-10 lead win, which I did predict. Nick Foles got injured. Obviously, doesn't really matter. Giants secured the win. They now own a playoff spot, and they're not guaranteed any home playoff games at all. So, but they did clinch the 6th seed, so they won't have anything to play for next week at all. Even if the 7th seed has the same or better record, they will still be in the 6th seed. Raiders were eliminated from playoff contention with their loss to the 49ers. It was a good game though. Hopefully you tuned into it. Steelers, they got the win 16-13, which I also predicted right against the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. That was huge for their playoff chances. Huge. They sit at 8-8 and going into the final week, they will have the Browns in Pittsburgh. This could be one of the easiest ways to get into the playoffs. So we're gonna do all the scenarios in this video that are left. So we can cross out the Raiders from this list. They are out of playoff contention at 6-10. I don't think they were going to make the playoffs. They had to win out. They had to have a bunch of stuff happen. And let's be realistic, that wasn't going to happen. So the Steelers, no longer 7-8. They're 8-8. Jets are also, with a loss at Seattle, they are eliminated from playoff contention. They are 7-9 on the season. Patriots got the win against the Dolphins. The Dolphins did not clinch one of the final AFC spots. So the Dolphins fall to 8-8, and the Patriots have the final spot. They have the 7th seed. The Jaguars got a win at the Texans 31-3 pretty easily, actually. I did pick the upset, but of course, doesn't matter now. And then, of course, the Titans lost to the Cowboys. Doesn't matter because they will be fine for the division win next week, which means a team that finishes most likely 8-9 is going to make the playoffs. And it's basically like the Washington Commanders of 2020. So here we go. We have the Patriots with the final seed in the AFC, the final wild card spot. Their next opponent is the Buffalo Bills. And if the Bills are still fighting for the number one spot, then the Patriots are probably going to lose. So they're going to drop down to 7-9. Let's say they lose 7-9. They have to go to Buffalo as well. They don't get a home field advantage. They have to go to Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins, they set at 8-8, and the Jets at 7-9, who got eliminated from playoff contention with a loss. By the way, the Patriots are 8-9. With that loss, not 7-9. Now, since the Jets aren't really playing for anything except to potentially knock the Patriots in the playoff contention, knock the Dolphins out of playoff contention. Let's say that the Dolphins will lose here. They are now 8-9. So we have two teams who are not eliminated, but basically eliminated. So the Jags and the Titans are the last. The Steelers is the last wild card team that can make it. They have been on a streak. They have won a few games by a field goal in the last few weeks. They have looked not the best, but they have been able to string together some W's to stay in playoff contention. And at 8-8, they are the final wild card team to try and make this spot. They have the Cleveland Browns, who sit at 7-9. The Browns looked amazing in the Commanders win. Of course, Carson Wentz for 3 interceptions. And the Browns defense let up 10 points, even though they did take the ball away 3 times. So let's say that the Steelers win. They are now 9-8. And because of this scenario, the Steelers would be in at 9-8. Now let's say that the Steelers lose. So everything that needed to happen happened, and I'm pretty sure, based on records and stuff, that the New England Patriots would be in. I could be wrong. Now, if one of them ties and the other two loses, they are in. One of them wins, the other two loses, they're in. Now, if they all three find a way to win their respective games, they will all have tiebreakers, and I'm pretty sure that a tiebreaker would go to the Patriots between these two teams. So the Steelers would miss out, which I don't think will happen. Honestly, I think the Steelers should make it. And then, of course, the Titans and the Jags, they still have a chance. Both of them can make the playoffs. And technically, the Titans are out of playoff contention only because of the division. I'm pretty sure if they weren't fighting for the division win, they'd be out. I'm pretty sure. Which is why the Colts got to stay in for so long. Like, they were out of wild card contention. But since the division, they still had a chance to win the division. They stayed in that extra week. And then after the loss to, I believe, it was after the Colts loss to, I believe, it was the Vikings, and then who did we play after the Vikings? I don't know, but we lost the game after the Vikings, and that eliminated us from playoff contention. So I'm gonna have the Jaguars, making the playoffs at 9-8. At least they can get in with a 9-8 record. And a 9-8 record would have been good enough to make the playoffs as well. Then you go to the NFC. They have a couple teams. Obviously, the Giants aren't playing for anything as they have locked up the 6th seed. So the 6th seed is out of contention. Washington's out of contention. The Seahawks, with the win versus the Jets, not only eliminated the Jets from playoff contention, but put them into the final NFC wildcard spot to show they are a good team without Russell. The Bucs clinched their division. That's why there's only one spot left. The Panthers are eliminated from playoff contention at 6-10. And the New Orleans Saints, which I don't get how they're eliminated from playoff contention, they are eliminated even after their win at the Eagles, which was an impressive win. It was only 20-10, but they did get a win. So in my book, I think the Saints deserve a clap. They tried their best. They didn't work out. And then the Packers will face the Lions. And the Lions are also one of the last teams that can make a playoff spot after their 41-10 crushing win against the Packers. The Packers also had a crushing win against the Vikings. The Vikings, of course, are fighting for the number 1 spot in the NFC to get that bye week. But I'm pretty sure they just put them on thin ice to make it after that win. Of course, there is still technically 2 spots available. Well, no. There's a division locked up. There's one division that hasn't been locked up. But both teams are respectively locked into the playoffs, both having 13 and 12 wins. They are both the Cowboys and the Eagles. They've been impressive. Giants, so 3 of the NFC East, I believe, teams make it, and the Commanders will not be the 4th one, which would be impressive. I don't think we've ever seen a playoff where all 4 teams in the division make the playoffs, because back in the day, there was only the 4 division winners and 2 wildcard teams, and you have 4 people in your division. Only 3 would have been able to make it with their respective records. So with the Bucks, they don't need to play their starters because they are pretty much just locked at the fourth. They can't do anything. So they're probably gonna lose to the Saints, and if they lose to the Saints, they're gonna make the playoffs with a 8-9 record. And if they beat the Saints, they'll make it with a more respectable 9-8 record. So the Lions and the Packers, of course, face each other next week, and whoever loses will be eliminated from playoff contention, no doubt, because of stuff that's happened. And of course, if the game ends in a tie and the Seahawks lose, the Lions would be in based on head-to-head against the Packers, winning the first game respectively in Detroit. Of course, the Packers have the home field advantage this week. So for the Packers, who Tom Grassi roots for, to make the playoffs, they don't have the easiest of ways to make the playoffs. But it's also pretty simple. It's not simple, but it's simple. There's only a couple scenarios that can happen here. One of which is the Packers lose, the Lions would make the jump ahead of them. The Packers would be eliminated from playoff contention. So the Packers, what they need to do is they need to win their last game of the season at home versus the Lions, which seems doable. And they are in, considering that Seattle loses their game. The Lions, to make it, just need to win against the Packers and have Seattle lose. For Seattle to make the playoffs, they need to win, and they're in. No debate. So if they win, they're in, and they will lock up the 7th seed. And, I don't care who makes it. Like the Lions and the the Lions, who haven't made it since 2016, or the Seattle Seahawks, who haven't made it since, I believe, 2017 or 18, maybe even 2019. The Seattle Seahawks obviously are a surprise team to still even be in playoff contention after, they were going to start Drew Lock originally, then Geno Smith, then he got COVID. Geno Smith jumps into the fire. He wins them 8 games, loses 8 games, but he has a chance to put his team in playoff contention. And what have the Broncos done? They've shown that they suck, and they do not even deserve a playoff spot. They don't deserve anything except the worst in Seattle. I'm rooting for you in Detroit this week.